So I am sharing with you today a video clip from one of my live women's circles that I lead. They're a monthly container where women join the same group of women join for 5 calls throughout the month. And I wanted to share this extract from the call recording because it's something that I've shared before in videos, and one of the participants mentioned that she saw me talk about it before, but it didn't really sink in until now. So I thought that this would be valuable to share. You'll see in the video, and also now as well, that I'm a little bit tired looking because it was 4:30 in the morning that I led this call. Because I'm finding myself not in Bali, I'm in Costa Rica, and I already had these calls booked at a certain time, and the time zone ended up shifting them to be 4:30 in the morning. I didn't plan to be in Costa Rica at this time, but here I am. So I wanted to give you this little prelude to what this video is. It's sharing about the masculine and feminine dynamics and where they're really coming from when we talk about these two energies, and then also how the masculine supports the feminine and how the feminine supports the masculine. So enjoy. Essentially, when things exist in the physical plane, there's duality. When we conceptualize something as one thing, then automatically the definition of the opposite thing becomes in existence. So when we conceptualize anything as hard, automatically in existence is something that isn't hard, because we've made the concept that this is hard. So it means that there's something that's not hard in order for that to be hard. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a label for it. We wouldn't label the quality of it, because all of the qualities would be the same, but we know it's not. We know that there's a quality of soft. So when we say light, that automatically makes it true that there's dark. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so they're just words for certain qualities of existence. Now I'm using qualities of like things existing, but when we think about qualities that we have, it's the same. If we say that there is a quality of focus, we know the experience of being focused. Well, then we know that there's an opposite to focus. There's something that focus is not. If focus is there, it means that there's something that focus isn't there because of the nature of duality. So that means, distraction comes into existence as soon as focus does. And within us, if we have the ability to be focused, because of the nature of how we are as humans, we have the ability to not be. If we have the ability to speak, we have the ability to not speak. So in this way, the energetics of the masculine and feminine, or the yin and yang, we could label them as anything at all, like random words if we wanted to, because it's not really the word where the meaning lies. It's in the fact that it's talking about qualities of existence. So we have within us a broad spectrum of qualities. We can touch deep focus, we can touch confused distraction, and we can touch something in between. So yeah, I did do a video on this, and it is a little bit more, it's a different way to explain it. I hadn't felt it explained in this way often. I tend to veer away from anything that is just fact because someone said it was. So I'm not working with masculine and feminine energetics because I learned that masculine is this and feminine is this, and that's what I'm sharing. It's like, no, like this is the root of it. So yeah, within us, we have a broad spectrum of these qualities, and it's never really that we're just one or the other. Like in some ways, everything in existence has a different level of quality to it. So paper, for instance, paper is hard, or like this book is hard. You can say it's hard, but it's also kind of flexible and soft. It's not as hard as this chair here. So if we're putting masculine to it, say masculine was hard, it's masculine, but it's got some feminine to it as well. And that's key to know. It's very, very, very rare that we would ever be in a very purely masculine state without there being some feminine there. Because in that way, it's not black and white. It's like, that's why the yin and yang symbol has a little dot on each side. So you have dark and light, but then you have a light dot in the dark and a dark dot in the light. It's actually to show that there is a state of existence and a dance between these two energies at any given time. And you could say that in one moment you have like 70% masculine there, but also 30% of your feminine. You know, you're very focused and very direct in what you're doing, but there's also some creativity and there's a sense of flow and spontaneity. So there's a dance between these energies, and it's important to really share that now, because I think people tend to try to make it black and white. I'm only in masculine, I'm only in feminine. It's not it. It's just how you use this energetic. So I'm sharing right now in a penetrative way. I'm information giving, I'm using my masculine. But my feminine is also here in terms of I'm not looking at notes, it's not super structured. I'm allowing the intuitive, creative part of me to share what feels right in a more circular way. You know, I don't have like a whiteboard and like doing all of that. So I'm in both right now. Yes, beautiful. Yeah, one doesn't exist without the other. It can't. It just simply can't. Light cannot exist without the concept of dark. Because again, we wouldn't even have a word for light and dark then. It would just be thing. So yeah, that's just like a little background to it all. So when we think about the masculine and all of these energies, now when it comes to gender, it is specific in that and this isn't to say, you know, like there's so much else involved with how these energetics show up for us naturally, which is why there's a different movement happening, especially now, of people expressing these energies in different ways. You might know a man who's extremely feminine naturally. So it's not to say that it's a hard rule, but for the most part, a man in a man's body will have naturally more masculine in their system, or rather, not more masculine, more of a connection to their masculine naturally. That's like for, I'd say 98% of the cases, maybe less, maybe 90%, but I would still say that the ability to connect with that masculine energy is stronger. It doesn't mean that then they're only masculine. Why is that? It's the biology. The masculine biology is penetrative. Literally, in sex, it penetrates. There is also generally more of a, again, think about sex, goal. There's a goal, like especially in terms of how it generally happens when a masculine ejaculates or when a man ejaculates, like that goal is reached. It's a little bit harder to continue on with sex. It can definitely happen, but it's harder. Whereas a woman is like never ending, cyclical. It's like it's roundabout. It's not as easy to work out what's going to happen in our sexuality. It's much, much more feminine in that way. A woman's sexuality is very feminine. It's also very feminine in the woman's sexuality being receptive. Feminine is receiving. In our biology, we physically receive. It's also to do with our hormone levels. Now, as women, we have testosterone, and testosterone is that which allows us to kind of have a strong output of something. You know, it's like helps with muscle building. It's also this like doing, getting things done. Now, a man's level of testosterone is huge. It's very, very high compared to a woman's generally. So in that way, again, it is more natural to be in doing mode, to be in that focused state. The way that our hormones are as women they change quite quite a lot compared to a man. A man has a circadian rhythm. We have a circadian rhythm as well with our hormones, 24-hour cycle. But we also have an infradian rhythm as women. We have a month cycle as well in our hormones. Men don't have that. They literally reset every 24 hours in the way that their hormones fluctuate. Ours don't. We have a little bit of that in terms of how our testosterone moves throughout the day, but then we also have like hormones dipping and rising and changing. And then even after our, like it balances slightly more in our post menopause, which is why a lot of women in post-menopause can also become a little bit more grounded, because there's a little bit more stability in the hormonal reality. So I share that as well, just because, again, that's where it's coming from when we say that women have a deeper connection to their feminine. It doesn't mean they don't have masculine and can't connect to it. We connect to all of it because it's all just a level of energetic experience. But there may be parts of us, especially our biology, our evolution. Also, it comes, how we grew up, the society, our psychology. I think our karma plays a role, our astrology, all of it. But generally speaking, that is why, as women, the feminine is stronger. Our connection is more easeful in that way. Allowing the masculine in is huge, especially if we're coming from a place where we're existing so much, expressing that masculine dynamic, that masculine quality in an unconscious way, perhaps, or in a survival instinct way, that later on we can develop a relationship where we reject it and are scared of it and we don't want to let it in. And that's not coming from a sense of self-trust, that the masculine and feminine, in essence, both of them are neutral. They can be used in healthy and unhealthy ways. Just like hard is neutral, it can be supportive or it can be a dangerous weapon, a hard thing. So coming back to honoring our inner masculine and developing that sense of feeling safe in our masculine, like he's not going to take over and run the show and we'll lose our feminine, is so important to feel, because that way we're not running away from ourselves and an essential natural quality that we have that wants to express. And when we don't express in a healthy way, these energies, they want to express in your life. To have a balanced expression, full expression, focus wants to be there. And if we're never allowing ourselves to be focused, likely that energy is going to come out in an unhealthy way by over-controlling things. It's like, that's more especially with discipline. If we're not having any kind of discipline in our lives, likely we'll have a mindset that even though we don't have like outer discipline, masculine expressed in a healthy way, we can get into mindsets where we're trying to control others' experiences. Because again, that energy is trying to get out, but it's getting out in an unhealthy kind of shadow aspect. So yeah, when we think about these statements before, a fear of burning out and being overwhelmed with too much work is generally coming from a distrust in your masculine. Distrust that your masculine will stop and listen to your feminine when your feminine says, we need rest now. So when we're afraid, oh my God, I just feel like I'm going to burn out, it's kind of like we feel like we're a car where the brakes are broken. Like, I'm going to burn out. I'm just going to keep going and going and going. And the car's going to eventually burn out because there's no brakes. It's just going to keep going. But when we realize that, no, we have the capacity to put the brakes on. We don't have to be afraid of burnout, because our masculine can create structure and stability and discipline around how much we work and rest. So that's one way to look at that statement and your relationship to it. Similarly to feeling safe, when we're feeling unsafe, energetically, emotionally, physically, we're likely not connected with our masculine in that way. We're likely not connected to that part of us that can protect us from environments, people, situations that are a threat to our safety. If we feel emotionally unsafe with someone, again, that might be that our masculine isn't expressing boundaries, healthy emotional boundaries. So the safety is the connection to us creating boundaries and doing actions that are about also preserving and protecting ourselves and our hearts. Now, if we don't have a strong connection to that healthy protection and safety, we can often get into situations where we're closing our hearts as self-preservation, not being vulnerable because we don't feel safe to be vulnerable, because we've never learned to allow ourselves how to feel safe being vulnerable, our inner masculine to hold us as we're being vulnerable, right? So again, that shadow aspect of trying to be safe, which is a beautiful thing, can also lead us to closing our hearts, not being emotionally vulnerable with people, not allowing ourselves to surrender in certain moments in partnership. Yeah, it's kind of like an anxiety and an over attachment to safety, but like this, rather than like, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, rather than I'm safe. And then our connection to purpose. Again, this one gets confused. People think, oh, I'm not living my purpose right now. I don't know what my main thing should be doing, like what I should be doing right now, and I'm not working toward it. So, I'm not connected to that masculine part. But it's your desire for purpose. Really, that's it. It's just the energetic of having a sense of movement towards something, penetrating the world in some way. And if that's a desire strong within you, then you're connected with a masculine purpose. You don't have to worry that it's not there because you're not having your dream career or actions throughout the day. And then getting affected by others' opinions. So that's very strong. The masculine is so connected and fed by truth. The feminine is connected to and fed by connection. So the part of us that craves connection deeply is our feminine side, and our masculine side craves truth, integrity. So when we're affected by others' opinions, we feel threatened. We feel that our truth isn't valid, or that we need to listen to others, or that we have truth, but then someone shares something and that threatens our connection to our truth, so we second guess ourselves. And it's that ability to really steep into the depth of what your truth is and to set boundaries again and to stand up for it, which means dealing with people's perhaps discomfort around whatever your truth may be. And it's a hard thing to do. It's hard to stay solid in that. And Muriel, you really connected with that. And you are connected with that strongly right now. So it's beautiful to hear your masculine's really showing up for you in that way. And the thing is, when we're thinking about the relationship between our masculine and feminine, your feminine is the thing that is helping in all of these cases for your masculine to show up. Because if your feminine is not allowing the connection to intuition, then it's harder for your masculine to stand by what the truth is, because we may not actually know the truth. We may not have that really deep core feeling intuitively. So can you see how they're really connected? It's like the masculine part of us that helps us feel safe, that provides and protects for ourselves. Well, if our feminine side isn't receptive isn't receiving that, receiving what he's providing, receiving the safety, receiving the actions, surrendering to those actions, then it's not going to work. Again, with the burnout, the masculine has structure to start and stop, and to have energy to even work, to have energy to even express that focus and that drive. The masculine needs to have enough nourishment or fuel in the fuel tank. And the feminine is what provides that. Our connection to our feminine, the connection to the part of us that is more free, or that values rest very highly, or that feeds, that wants to nurture and feed in some way, whether you're feeding emotionally or feeding physically. And so when we're connected to that feminine part, that fuels the masculine. And again, it's less scared of burnout because there's fuel in the tank. So this is why it's so key to really focus on these two energetics, because it's the same with our feminine being supported by the masculine. If we're not trusting our intuition, we're not listening to the feminine. And that ability to connect with the intuition is the ability that we cultivate or create when we're actually in a state where there's a lot of space. If our to-do list is full and our schedule is full, we don't have time to allow our connection to our intuition. We don't have time to receive the downloads because we're too busy doing everything on this to-do list. So that's why the feminine desires space and freedom to move, to feel that connection. There's something in that freedom of the feminine that is supported by the masculine. Structure creates freedom. So the masculine, and I've shared this maybe already on a call with you guys, I'm not sure. The masculine is the river banks. The feminine is the flow of the river. Without the bank, the structure, the river wouldn't actually have flow, movement, direction. It would just be like a puddle and it would dry up. So the river can flow, the movement can happen when there's something holding it, because the feminine feels safe when there's a certain level of structure. Do you know when you feel safe around a person? You feel really safe that they're not going to judge you. You feel safe to be yourself, so you are yourself. You feel more free. You're more playful. You're more light. That is it in existence. That is the feminine feeling safe from the structure to express. And it's the same in terms of if the masculine didn't have the feminine, there'd be riverbanks, but there'd be no water, it'd be dry, it'd be dull. The feminine is there to bring that life and flow to the experience of the riverbank. So allowing ourselves space can actually, the masculine can give the feminine space she needs to connect to her intuition. Whereas the masculine going, all right, for the next hour, I'm going to be disciplined enough to not do anything. And that's a sense of structure to create freedom. It's also the structure of working, earning money to create freedom to live. That's how it comes into play as well. And then receiving gifts and compliments. So that is deeply feminine. If you feel uneasy when someone compliments you or to receive, it's generally tied up in a sense of your worthiness and your value to simply receive as an energetic exchange that is balance. Because there's no balance if someone gives to you and you push it away. And so there's one little thing about receiving that I want to share. And it's that when you're giving a gift to someone, doesn't it feel good to see them accept it and to see their reaction and their response? Doesn't it feel really lovely to give that and to feel that? And doesn't it feel not so lovely when you give a gift and they're like, oh, no, I don't want that. It's I wanted to give you that. actually them receiving it as a gift for us. That's what we receive back in giving, them receiving it. So whenever we're pushing away a compliment, a gift, or anything that someone wants to offer us, we're actually stopping that person from receiving the joy of giving. And it completes the cycle. Giving means that there's receiving. That's the balance of that. Giving stopped when receiving can't happen. And it doesn't feel good for both people. Now, this is separate to when people are giving for impure reasons and transactional reasons, and they hold it against you and all of that. That's a whole different conversation. But just connect to your feeling, connect to your ability to receive, and how you relate to that, and how you might be able to receive even more, and how that might relate to your sense of worthiness and how you value yourself, and just explore that as an offering.